The American wilderness is vast. Millions of acres of forests, mountains, deserts, and valleys stretch beyond the reach of cities and highways. Places where nature still rules. Places where people disappear. And sometimes, places where something happens that no one can explain. In the last century, thousands of hikers, hunters, park rangers, and explorers have reported encounters so strange that they continue to puzzle investigators to this day. Some heard voices in places where no one should have been. Some saw figures emerging from the trees. Others vanished without a trace, only to reappear under impossible circumstances. Were these events the result of fear, misidentification, natural phenomena, or do they point toward mysteries we still don't understand? Tonight, we're exploring 5 of the most chilling and unexplained encounters ever reported in the American wilderness. Stories backed by witnesses, official reports, and questions that remain unanswered. Because deep in the wilderness, not every mystery stays buried. Pause. Let's begin. Before we explore these cases, it's important to understand the setting. America contains some of the most remote wilderness areas on Earth. From Alaska's frozen mountains to the forests of the Pacific Northwest, there are regions where a person can travel for days without seeing another human being. Many native nations have long maintained traditions about these landscapes. Stories passed down through generations often describe sacred places, dangerous locations, and unexplained phenomena tied to the land itself. These traditions vary greatly between tribes and should never be treated as a single unified belief system. But one common theme appears again and again: respect for wilderness, respect for places where humans are not in control. Modern science offers many explanations for unusual experiences in remote environments. Isolation, hypothermia, sleep deprivation, optical illusions, acoustic effects. Yet some encounters continue to resist easy explanation. And that's where our first story begins. In the autumn of 1953, a seasoned hunter entered a remote section of the Rocky Mountains. Friends described him as experienced, prepared, comfortable in the outdoors. The weather was stable, the terrain familiar. Then he disappeared. Search teams combed the area for days. They found footprints, then nothing. No signs of struggle, no equipment, no body. Weeks later, a discovery shocked investigators. Several personal items belonging to the hunter were found miles away from where he had last been seen. The objects appeared carefully placed, not scattered, not damaged, placed. How they got there remains unknown. The official explanation pointed toward exposure and disorientation. Yet many who studied the case questioned how an experienced outdoorsman could have traveled such distances without leaving a clear trail. The mystery remains unsolved. The Sierra Nevada mountains are breathtaking, but they can also be terrifying. In the 1970s, multiple hikers reported hearing voices calling their names from deep within the forest. At first, investigators assumed these reports were simple misunderstandings. Sound behaves strangely in mountainous terrain. Voices can travel long distances. Echoes can distort direction. Yet some reports contained disturbing similarities. Witnesses described hearing familiar voices. Family members, friends, people who were nowhere near the area. Several hikers reported following these sounds before realizing they were moving farther from marked trails. Many turned back. Others became temporarily lost. Scientists suggest acoustic anomalies may explain these experiences. But for those who heard the voices themselves, the memory never faded. Alaska contains some of the most isolated terrain on Earth. In the winter of 1986, several backcountry travelers reported seeing unusual lights moving across a remote valley. Not aircraft, not stars, not the northern lights. Witnesses described glowing objects changing direction abruptly, stopping suddenly, then accelerating away. One group attempted to photograph the lights. The resulting images showed only faint blurs. Investigators examined weather records, military flight activity, astronomical events.
No definitive explanation emerged.
Could the lights have been atmospheric phenomena? Possibly. Yet decades later, the reports continue to generate debate, especially because multiple independent witnesses described nearly identical observations. Perhaps the most emotionally devastating story involves a young camper who disappeared in Oregon's wilderness during the late 20th century. Search crews mobilized immediately. Volunteers joined the effort. Helicopters scanned miles of forest. Days passed. Hope began to fade. Then came a surprise. The camper was found alive. But the account that followed raised new questions. According to reports, the child described being guided by an unknown figure during the ordeal. A figure who provided comfort, protection, direction. Investigators could never verify the claim. Some believe the experience was a psychological coping mechanism. Others see it as evidence of something more mysterious. Whatever the truth, the child survived. And the story remains one of the most debated wilderness survival accounts ever recorded. The Appalachian Mountains are among the oldest mountain ranges on Earth. They are also home to countless legends. In the early 2000s, a group of hikers reported seeing a dark figure standing among the trees. At first glance, it appeared human. Yet witnesses claimed something felt profoundly wrong. The figure remained motionless, watching. Then it disappeared behind a stand of trees. When hikers approached the location, nothing was there.
No footprints.
No signs of movement.
No explanation.
Skeptics point to low light conditions and misidentification. Others remain unconvinced, because every witness described the same unsettling feeling, a sensation that they were being observed. These stories differ in location, different witnesses, different decades, different circumstances, yet common themes appear repeatedly: isolation, disorientation, strange sounds, unexpected sightings, missing time. Psychologists note that extreme environments can alter perception. Stress changes how the brain processes information. Memory can become unreliable. But even after accounting for these factors, some cases remain difficult to explain completely. Not because they prove anything supernatural, but because the evidence never provides a clear answer. And unanswered questions have a way of surviving. Science does not require mystery to disappear. Instead, science seeks explanations. Researchers studying wilderness encounters point to several factors: acoustic distortion, weather conditions, magnetic anomalies, sleep deprivation, fear responses, environmental psychology. Together, these can create experiences that feel profoundly real. And in many cases, they likely do. Yet science also acknowledges uncertainty. Not every question receives an immediate answer. Some mysteries simply remain open, waiting for new evidence, waiting for future discoveries. Why do these encounters continue to fascinate us? Perhaps because they remind us how little control humans truly possess in wild places. Despite satellites, GPS, modern technology, the wilderness remains unpredictable. There are still valleys rarely visited, forests barely explored, mountains capable of humbling even experienced adventurers. And where uncertainty exists, stories emerge. The 5 encounters you've heard tonight may never be fully explained. Perhaps future evidence will solve some of them. Perhaps others will remain mysteries forever. What matters is not whether every story contains something supernatural. What matters is what these stories reveal about human experience: fear, wonder, survival, curiosity, and our enduring relationship with the natural world. The American wilderness remains one of the last places where mystery still feels possible. And perhaps that's why these stories continue to captivate us. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more deep explorations into history, mystery, and the unexplained. Leave a comment below. Which encounter do you think has the most convincing explanation, and which remains the biggest mystery? Until next time, stay curious, and stay safe out there. Fade to black.